So you mentioned MPP. Do you see like that growing, that movement?
I have not seen signs of it getting terribly bigger. But they certainly are still out there, putting out their message, and I think it's generally a good message. I'm still kind of afraid that they're going to become another Green Party. That they're just going to that right now they're Bernie's Revolution 2.0, and that it's kind of exclusionary to bringing in folks that are a little more conservative, and I think that I believe Daisy agrees with this. So what we really need is kind of more central populist movement. Like I say, kind of a sane Trump with some more progressive tendencies.
You think this idea of Brett Weinstein of having Yang and who's the Republican
Oh yeah,
officer? What was his name?
McRaven. I think it was an admiral or something.
McRaven, right?
I love the idea, but I love the way he tried to pull the rug out from folks that would say that, but you're going to elect Trump if you vote for this. The Nader Jill Stein argument, because it had baked into the cake. It had that if you're going along in the campaign and you're just not generating enough that you're going to win, then you pull the plug on it. That's like baked into the cake. But I don't think either. Yeah, I don't
They're
think
not
there's
going to
real.
do that.
Yeah, I think it's a great concept, but this year it's simply a concept that came up a little too late to actually be acted on.
So, what do you think of the argument? I hear this argument from people. It's like, yeah, you can vote third party, but you have the privilege of being able to do that. What about people who are other people have said to me, you should vote for Biden because he's going to be making Supreme Court appointments and judicial appointments, and whether or not you agree with him on medical care or whatever, you have to vote for this guy because Trump is so terrible.
That's the settle for Biden. I don't know if one of you guys can share your screen. There literally is a website,
Right.
settleforbiden.org,
Right.
and they literally make that argument like, look, nobody really wants this guy, but he's not Trump. Basically that's what's going on, right? And you're talking about Supreme Court picks and things like that, and all those are valid arguments. It doesn't excuse Biden end up being the pick out of that array of folks that originally ran for the Democratic Party. I mean, he's like among the worst, especially when you're talking about a time when we're all looking at social justice and police reform, and this guy is the crime bill, and he is segregation, and he is war on drugs, right? And if you talk about bringing Kamala in, you're talking about prison slave labor and keeping people in jail because for political points, because you don't want to give up the case even though new evidence has come out and all that. I mean, these are the antithesis of the people the Democrats should be running right now.
Right. But the argument is that, okay, it's symbolically very important to have a woman of color as vice president because she will presumptively become president at some point. And it's
the symbolism of her being an aggressive prosecutor that worked with private prisons and employed slave labor to fight California fires overrules that completely in my book. And I'd go with Karen Bass or somebody else. I like
right.
the idea. I mean, I think symbolism can be important, and breaking barriers is important. And I would go with somebody else.
But I can just see like the argument
She's
is
horrible.
Like, we're not going to, you and I are not going to suffer necessarily directly if Trump is reelected, right?
That's true.
But other people will more, So they're saying, well, you have, you can easily vote for, third party candidate as a protest vote, but and I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not
sure, yeah.
that.
But I refuse to see the Democrat Party as a passive player here. They engineered Biden being the nominee. This is not a matter of, oh well, it ended up being Biden, so we got to go along with them. And I mean, they engineered that through, in some ways that were, legal and fair, and a lot of ways that were not.
Right. I mean, it's amazing that you had this massive popular movement in 2016 and 2020 on the left. I mean, with Bernie, and then it's
Right.
just like totally like evaporated. And Bernie won the first three primaries, right, or the first two primaries, anyways. And they're like,
Yeah, and that's never happened.
that's never happened that they
It's
haven't
never
gone on.
happened that someone's won like two out of the first three and not won the nomination, let alone all three.
Right.
That's never happened, and it was completely engineered. And I say some of it was legal, like and weird, but legal, like with Obama calling everybody else and telling them to drop out, and Elizabeth Warren obviously playing a part in sucking off some of Bernie's votes, where everybody else dropped out, right, on the conservative side. But there was also the Iowa app that was
Right. Right.
obviously engineered to cause
Fiasco.
problems. There was all the issues with the exit polling that were always 10% off and in Biden's favor. There was the long lines in Bernie areas, 4 hours waiting to vote in Bernie. I mean, all this stuff was engineered. There's no doubt about it.
So what can we do to counter that? Because I mean, obviously, I mean that guy Howell in his video, said that I'm not so much for the voting approach, and I'm more for the in the streets approach, and that he's not dismissing the election process
Yeah.
as a way to affect change, but
Right.
he's saying that you're naive if you think electing Biden is really going to change anything. That you have to, there has to be stuff going on, like there has to be protest, there has to be resistance in the street, whether it's hopefully nonviolent resistance, but there has to be
Right.
like more of the stuff you see going on like in Portland around the country, so that this
Or
becomes. Go ahead.
Or what if it was simply concentrated in Washington, D.C.? I mean, what if you had, a Hoover town, build up, a shanty town, build up a giant, everywhere you can, basically have people saying, even if they're not specifically the people that have been evicted and they're homeless
Right.
because of this horrible situation, people that represent them, right? Go and be camped out as long as you can, or take
Yeah,
turns,
it could
like
happen,
that,
especially if people
all
get
over
really,
Washington,
if they're
D.C.
really
Yeah.
desperate. But remember what happened to the Hoover towns? Like Hoover sent in the troops and cleared them out.
Well,
Uh,
make them do that. Make them
right,
make it that
right.
obvious. I mean,
Which was that was the
yeah.
downfall of Hoover too. I think that he did
There you
that.
go. Exactly. Show, have tough on crime Biden and Kamala show their stripes, and do that. That videos change, videos and pictures change things, right? The right
Right.
picture can stop wars.
And then you get back to the technology again. I mean, 100 years ago,
Yeah.
we didn't have that. You didn't walk around with your iPhone, be able to take pictures of stuff or
Right.
videos. And now you can do that. And instantaneously, it is, now obviously they
Right.
still pull the strings like on some of these made like on Twitter or whatever, they can control things. But, which makes these alternative platforms all the more important, right? Like
Absolutely.
Parler
Yeah.
and uh,
Yeah. You can get this. You can get this stuff out there. They can. They have to demonetize a lot of our allies now on YouTube, and I think people are realizing to also check out Rofkin and
right.
so there are ways to get things out there. There's also some regular websites out there that can carry videos and all that. So yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult to see
I
where
mean, it's
this ends
also,
up.
it becomes a global phenomenon too, because no longer is it goes global immediately, right? So if you put something up on social media, it's not just
Right.
restricted to this country. So, I think it's important to keep that global perspective on things. Like the Black Lives Matter, you had protests in Germany and different places around the world, not just in this country. So it was,
True.
it became
Yeah.
an international phenomenon very quickly.
Yeah. Do we want to switch topics at all, or
Yeah,